Hello, everybody. It's George from Ireland. Welcome back to my channel. Not blinded by the sunlight now. So in this video, I'm discussing the resignation of Nicola Sturgeon. Now, I wrote in the title as leader of the SNP, but of course, the Scottish National Party has it everything a bit different, just to prove that they're not from England or Northern Ireland or Wales. She's national convener of the SNP. The SNP, once panned by Blair as separatism, no policies. And back then, obviously, Labour was in the driving seat in North Britain. But the SNP, they won a plurality in the Scottish Parliament in 2007 and have never looked back. Obviously, won at Westminster in 2015 and have retained that. So she's a remarkable political figure, Nicola Sturgeon. She's rather young to be resigning, but I think we haven't heard the last of her. I think she's bowing out of politics altogether. This Glaswegian solicitor, who's a quarter English, took over after Alex Salmond failed to get a yes vote in the 2014 referendum, wanting to break up Britain. And then so she took over as leader of the SNP and therefore First Minister of Scotland. It's so confusing because, Donald Dew was the first minister, and was it Jack McConnell was the second first minister, and what first and second? Why don't they just call it chief minister like they do in Indian states? So why has she stood down? Well, a lot of things were going wrong for her because she wanted another referendum on Scotland, leaving the United Kingdom. Westminster said absolutely no. The United Kingdom Supreme Court said this can only be held in Caledonia with the say-so of the UK government. So Nicola Sturgeon, she's blocked there. She could try and hold one illegally, like a Catalonia option, but as she has herself publicly opined or observed, that does not make you independent. Catalonia is very much part of Spain, and that's withered on the vine, the idea of Catalan separatism. And it's richly ironic since she's an ardent Europhile, and she dared not raise her voice in favor of her spiritual confrère in Catalonia. Another point is, even if North Britain did secede from the United Kingdom, Madrid was pledged to block Scottish membership of the European Union forever. And that avowal meant that Scotland's dream of joining the EU was really just never going to be realised, even if they got out of the UK. Because if there are 27 member states, only one of them can veto, and maybe several would veto for various reasons. Had no defence policy worked out. What you could do for a currency if you leave the UK? We'll use a sterling, won't be allowed to. Just in a century of existence, the SNP hadn't worked out answers to these very fundamental questions. So their prospectus for separatism was really not remotely convincing. Moreover, it made no sense whatsoever to say we want to leave the United Kingdom. We've got nothing in common whatsoever with the people of England. We have a huge degree of commonality with the people of Lithuania or wherever, or Croatia, for instance. And nothing in common with the people of Northern Ireland and Wales, I suppose. Anyway, it's preposterous. So Nicola Sturgeon, she was really failing on all fronts in terms of education, healthcare, public transport, crime, the economy. It was all going badly. So the old strategy, pick a fight with Westminster, blame those evil English, it's all their fault, scapegoating, taking no responsibility for herself. Now, admittedly, the Conservative and Unionist Party at Westminster, they sometimes try the same trick with regards to the European Union or whoever, or diverting attention to the Ukraine war, or indeed to the Holyrood administration. So to distract people from their domestic discontents and your own shortcomings. So Nicola Sturgeon, she's standing down. So she made a surprise announcement on Wednesday. Nobody saw that one coming. On Tuesday, she'd attended the obsequies of Alan Angus, who was a widely appreciated activist for separatism. So she delivered her oration from Bute House, which is the official residence of the First Minister of Scotland in Edinburgh. Not open to the public. I know exactly where it is. A very handsome, probably building from around about 1800. So who's going to carry on? Now, remember, she's obviously in the Scottish Parliament, Nicola Sturgeon. She's not at Westminster. So things have gone wrong for her December 2022 when she tried to get the gender recognition bill passed, but Westminster was going to block it, so that anybody says that I'm a girl or I'm a boy has to be accepted this way, and Westminster said we're going to block that and so on. It would clash with the Equality Act. Does biology matter at all? Anyway, some people thought this was loony liberalism. There was a case of Ina Bryson, a man posing as a woman, a transgender person, if you will, who'd committed 2 rapes and was going to be sent to prison for it, but insisted that he be put in a female prison. Now, what could possibly go wrong? But anyway, the decision was made at the last possible minute that this person would actually go to a male prison, being biologically male, despite identifying as female. So perhaps your genitals make a difference. So there are increasing strikes. So that is Nicola Sturgeon bowing out. But then who's going to take over from her? Now, unionists are rubbing their hands in glee, but perhaps are too cocksure. Because unionists think, well, Nicola Sturgeon is quite a big beast, a formidable political operator who ruled North Britain for almost 9 years, but no longer than any individual has under devolution by quite some way, and the first female to be First Minister of Scotland. So John Swinney could reprise his role. He was elected in 2000 when Alex Salmond resigned after 10 years stewardship of the SNP. But Swinney seemed to be far left. He was a fairly dreadful leader, and only 4 years later he stood down, and Alex Salmond came back and ruled on for us another successful 10 years. Kate Forbes, possibly the finance secretary, effectively finance minister. So she's risen very fast indeed. She's on maternity leave currently. Angus Robertson, MP. Now, he led the SNP's delegation to Westminster and was known for lacerating Theresa May. But he could come back, I suppose. I don't think he's in Holyrood right now. Humza Yousaf, he's the health secretary at the moment. So, and he's one of relatively few non-white SNP politicians. He's a Glaswegian. New Scots, they call them, ethnic minority people. So prove that they reach out to ethnic minorities. Keith Brown, the Justice Secretary, I think he's pretty unlikely. I think it's improbable that John Swinney will come back. He's yesterday's man, even though he is Deputy First Minister. Why would he be a better leader of the SNP second time than he was the first? Perhaps he's learned from bitter experience. He stood down, my God, 19 years ago, and he's still in the game. So there are all sorts of other possibilities. Who do I think is more likely? Some people thought Stephen Flynn, who's just taken over as the SNP's leader at Westminster after Ian Blackford, but he said he shan't be doing that. But anyway, unionists appear to be jubilant, and for them, they're singing, "Ding dong, the witch is dead, the wicked old witch is dead." I don't think she's that bad, actually. The SNP had two very convincing leaders, Alex Salmond and Nicola Sturgeon, in recent decades, quite effective communicators. It's improbable that somebody will be able to fill those shoes. And so that's why unionists think the SNP is tanking, it's going wrong for various reasons. They haven't delivered on their core promise of leaving the United Kingdom, and they've really got no roadmap to do that. Treating the next election as a de facto referendum, that was highly contentious even within the SNP, and anyone who's outside the SNP was against that, apart from a few Greens. And the other one to say, we've got so many more urgent issues. What are we going to do about healthcare, education, crime, the economy, rather than I diverge and we've already dealt with this issue. So, yeah, the SNP might be running out of steam, but they've had a very good innings. They've already been in charge in Holyrood for almost 16 years. And they've got another couple of years to go to the next Holyrood election. And very likely, Westminster election 2024, the SNP would be the largest party in Scotland to have the most seats. Right. So anyway, thank you so much for watching my channel. Please donate on PayPal, georgecallahan79 @gmail.com, and subscribe on Patreon. Goodbye.